Hello and welcome to the Blood and Pigment channel. I'm Joseph and I'm here in the bottom of the barrel with Guy and Dan, and we're here to talk about the worst factions in Blood and Plunder.
Blood and Plunder has an amazing depth and a breadth of options for force building at this point. There are more than 60 different unique factions to play.
We're talking about the worst factions, but these are very subjective, and all factions can be played well, win games, and be enjoyed. Don't let us ruin your fun if we mention your faction if you play and enjoy. These are just our hot takes.
In some cases, these are factions that we don't like for one reason or another. These might also be factions that we have used often, only to discover that they have some crippling weaknesses. We're factoring in power level, possible variety, and fun levels.
We're going to take a look at 10 different factions that are our least favorite in no particular order. Guy, do you want to kick us off with your first stinker?
Number 1 is the Black Caribs. This is personally a faction that I have painted more than 50 models for, with special, unique commanders that I've modified so they are similarly armed to the unit. And after playing them a lot, there is just not enough variety with the Black Caribs. Black Caribs have one core unit, the African Warrior, that costs 6 points and can be outfitted in a number of different ways, all of them playing remarkably similar to each other. In addition, Black Caribs have only 4 support units, and one of the support units, Young Warriors, needs to have another support unit in your faction or in your list to be able to play. You need to bring either Warriors or Warrior Musketeers. In all, Black Caribs is a nice faction to play every once in a while, but I wouldn't want to play a campaign as this faction, and I think it loses out a lot with what Caribs were historically.
I played them a good bit too. I painted up a ton of them. They have a lot of abilities. They have quick, and they have skirmishers, and they have tough. They shed fatigue really well, but if they have bows, so they can't hit too hard. For a 6-point unit, it's just a lot. And if you give muskets, they have slow reloads. They can't really function like they should. If you're activating them with speed to get the quick, they're well, and then they have to reload 3 times. It's just rough.
It's one of the only ways to get spry on a model as well, but you don't see it used very much.
Yeah, spry is very corner case. Also, yeah, just variety is lacking, which is fair. It's fine. It's historically correct, probably at some level. But one core model and then one option for commanders too. You just have the inexperienced, or untested, experienced, and or just the one.
Yep.
Sorry, just the one commander
with 3 different levels.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, what's our number 2?
Mine is Logwood Cutters. And while of my choice, they're the best of my worst factions, my issue is that they are random. Engagés are terrible. They seem great with that shoot 6 skill. They look like a discount freebooter. But despite having ball and shot, they also have timid. So if they get shot at or somebody close to them gets shot at, they're taking fatigue. And while you can kit out your force to be an awesome shooty force, if you get the drunk special rule, most of your units are drunk, that's a penalty to your shoot. And now your entire playstyle has been upended because of a random special rule. I think they're fun. I definitely enjoy playing them. But as far as like power level, I think they're really dicey. Pun intended.
I like playing them too, but yes, sure hurts when they're drunk.
It is I think that role to see what's happening in the beginning is fun. It's exciting, but it adds too much variance to what might be a game. Getting everybody drunk or the unprepared one, which is also bad, it changes your game a lot.
And there's no way to prepare for drunk. If they had like a cheap, sailor melee unit that you could just spam and hope you get drunk, that wouldn't be on the list. But there's no way to really prep for drunk because most of your strategy is going to be shooting.
Can they take a hangover medicine or something, a special action to remove it?
Spend an action to throw up.
Yeah, eat a raw egg.
I will also say unprepared is also almost as bad as drunk, because if they do, your opponent does have a bunch of melee models that they want to try overwhelming with you with. You're spending your first turn reloading.
That's more manageable than drunk.
It is more manageable.
It's memey, it's silly, it's, pirate lumberjacks that can be drunk, what's not to love, but as far as, like, it being a solid faction, eh.
It's a fun faction, but it's not a tournament faction.
What's your first stinker, Joseph?
My first stinker is a really good faction. The Filibustier now. This is Leolinet's legendary faction, which Leolinet is a pretty good commander, really good commander. And I looked through all the nations. And I wanted to pick one from each nation, which I had to pare it down, but I wanted to put one French one in. And this is a decent faction, but what I don't like about it is the commander's really good at sea war, and there are no Marines in the core column. So you have to play a expensive 37-point commander, I believe. And then you got filibusters and Les Infants Perdus and engagés. So mostly pretty expensive units. And the French boarding party are so fragile, nobody likes to play them. And the engagés are really bad on ships because the timid gets triggered all the time. So they're kind of a land faction, but the commander is more or less a sea commander.
Well, you got to be able to use broadside in 3 command points. That's a sea commander right there.
Right. So it's just better that they all get ruthless, which is great. So your filibusters can really hit like a truck in melee. But I just find it's kind of a tangled mess where things don't complement each other. So it's better just to play French Buccaneer. So it's fine set of stuff, but it doesn't click for me.
I really don't like it's not unique enough. A lot of other legendary commanders get a really unique faction, but Lolinet, you get the French Buccaneer ability of discarding your hand and Ruthless, and that is it.
Those are good things.
They are good, but compared to the uniqueness and not having the Marines to take advantage of sea factions, yeah, I agree that this is just a faction you'll play once, and then Buccaneers if you ever bring out Lolinet.
Yeah, that's kind of where I landed. Back to you.
Well, my second one, speaking of Buccaneers, I'm going to talk about now Privateers, the Brandenburg Privateers. This is a unaligned faction, Brandenburg Privateers. I think they were one ship or a collection of ships historically.
Their date range is 1679 to 1681, so you just got a 2-year slice to use these guys.
Yep. They have their I call them watered down pirates because they have the same strike test for special rule as pirates, where you get to roll 2 dice and take the result you want. But then all of their units that they get to choose are Dutch units and European sailors as core. So really the question is, why not just play a Dutch faction instead? And then that way you can get the better commanders. The sea commanders, I think we can all agree they're not very exciting.
Not really.
And Dutch commanders get strict instead of broadside. And if you're the other thing that I think is a cardinal sin for me is this force gets the special ruled where all of your artillery crews get expert artillery crew, but it has Zelaiden as a core unit. So you already have a good expert artillery crew. You're not going to put capers on cannons often, or use European sailors when you have Zelaiden available.
Literally.
So it's this is really a faction that I know it exists because historically they did have Cornelius Rears running around doing some light piracy, and he's a okay commander with expert broadside and inspiring for 30 points and 3 command points. So he's in all commanders that give you 3 command points deserve to be looked at. But again, you can play Admiral Crimson.
Yeah.
in a Dutch faction.
Yeah, they need to be there for history, but they're kind of an overlap with Dutch in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
What's your next one, Dan?
All right, so I also have another legendary faction, Los Corsarios de Pardal. Now, I like Pardal. I like his model. I like how he's kind of the rootin' tootin' kind of sort of Spanish version of kind of sort of Henry Morgan. But his faction sucks. His special rule lets you challenge a unit to a duel, in which case that your opponent's just going to be like, all right, I'm just going to move my unit back so you can't have it. And then it's just got crap units. It's got Milicianos and Marineros, like, yay. And then your support unit is Marineros Piqueros. It's just, there's not a lot going on here. There's no variety. It's pretty lame. You get, okay sailors, but then you get crappy musket units. And then your support units are pikemen, which I guess is cool if you're trying to board, but there's not a lot to do here. And it's just, I think it's really underpowered. And again, for a cool Spanish legendary commander, you might as well just go play Juan Corso. Discard all, go play Juan Corso, because this is just not worth it at all.
Yeah, his special rule is really fun in theory, but it's so hard to make actually work that it isn't very fun most of the time. One thing that might be fun for is the new Wanted Man scenario that's coming out in Raise the Black.
Ooh.
Kind of fun.
He might get his duel against Henry Morgan he wanted so bad.
Right. That'd be cool.
So the worst part to me is that he has to spend a command point to issue the challenge, and then it rewards the opponent if the unit that you challenged kills Cardinals.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah, like, so you are spending a command point to issue a challenge to usually an opposing command unit.
That's probably superior to you.
Yeah, and then that unit that you just challenged gets a reward for if they're able to whittle down and kill your unit. And I've done this a couple times in a game. I've played him, I think, twice because I wanted to play all of the legendary guys at least once. Mm-hmm. I did him twice. Each time I issued a challenge pretty early on the game, and then our two units just ignored each other the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's easy to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you set it up and say, hey, you're 8 inches away from my, my command unit, and you think you really got the jump, and you charge in with your Marineros or Marineros Piqueros and think you have it, and then you realize you've charged a superior unit that isn't going to take all that damage and then hit you back tenfold, and you can't take that, and then you run away. It's just, again, it's memey, it's funny, but like that's it. There's no substance here.
It's fun to issue a challenge in the game. I just it's not.
You know what the good thing is about these guys, though, right?
What?
They can fight the Brandenburg Privateers because their years overlap precisely.
Oh, they could.
All right, Joseph, what's your next choice?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on you here and talk about the Guardacostas. This is Spanish seagoing faction, and they're very similar to the Pardal faction, so I won't talk about them that much. They just don't have much going for them. They have Spanish units and not a lot of good special rules there. They get Ruthless, but if they're a cannon list, Ruthless doesn't do anything. They get poorly equipped, but if they're a cannon list, that doesn't really do much. There are Milicianos, which are really bad on ships, get sailors instead of drill, which is kind of nice, but just not my favorite. Got a lot of command options, which is good. That makes them interesting at least. But overall, I would say they're one of the weaker seagoing factions. And I'd just much rather take the Armada di Barlovento, so Guardacostas has kind of fallen by the wayside for me since No Peace Beyond the Line came out.
Yeah, I mean, that or Spanish Corsairs. I think those are just way better options.
The only good thing I think about this faction is the 15-point experience commander gets a 8-inch range for being a sea commander. Ruthless, Broadside, Inspiring. It's really rare to see 3 abilities on a 15-point commander. Granted, Ruthless is useless.
But useless Ruthless.
But Broadside and Inspiring is nice to have on a 15-point commander. It's kind of, I think he's the only 15-point commander that gets both.
Those are 2 good rules. Let's see. And I want to reiterate the faction is interesting because of how many different commanders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different commanders, all quite unique. So that's a good part.
And they have a Dutch guy.
That's right.
Yeah. But once you get in there, it's okay. You got Milicianos with sailors and Marineros. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah. I think you're just supposed to tape the Milicianos to the side of your ship and use them as a human shield to protect from cannonballs.
You would think that's effective, but it is not.
That's the proper use of Milicianos.
I've seen a lot of ships that have, and as extra armor, I brought 16 milicianos.
We're actually going to launch Milicianos at you, and then you have to deal with their saves.
Yeah, secret weapon. Back to you guys.
My next one is the North American English militia from No Peace Beyond the Line. This is a very unique faction where it has a couple of good not legend, well, one legendary commander and one unlegendary historical commander. That's pretty exciting, but this this faction doesn't work. Its faction ability to reroll failed fatigue tests during the game's first turn is pretty much useless because that's usually when you don't really have a lot of fatigue tests or rally tests that you need to do. I guess if your opponent brought a musician, you're gonna re-roll those failed tests to shake that musician.
Actually, you won't, because that's before the first.
Well, I mean, any fatigue that's piled up from the musician. If you
Oh, yeah, I
rally,
guess
you can
so.
try shaking it off. But you're right; you don't even get to do it on the musician test. And then if you don't choose one of the options, the core models you get are English militia, which I've stated before that are terrible, and militia pikemen, which are also equally terrible.
I like English militia.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, that special rule. I mean, I can imagine a couple places where it's good, like that ambush scenario we played recently, where you can get hit hard turn one.
Yeah.
This could help you weather that. But once you have no special rule for the rest of the 5 turns of the game, it's just kind of a wah sad time.
And it is the only thing you get. The force options that you get in this a North American English militia from No Peace Beyond the Line is either Sea Dogs as core, but you take out
They're
some.
just shuffling units, basically.
Yeah, you're just shuffling models around, and really, if you're gonna do Sea Dogs, you can do a different one. The from Fire on the Frontier, the New England Privateers, that has Sea Dogs as core and has abilities that work. The Ranging Party, where you have Indian fighters and militia cavalry as core. I don't like the militia cavalry very much in this force, and cavalry is bad to begin with, but militia, the only thing that the militia cavalry is good at is not running away. Indian fighters are okay, but
They're great.
they're a good unit. But if you try surrounding them with English militia, then so this is I haven't played this faction a lot, but I've only played it a handful of times, and every time is just really feel bad moments.
The Caribbean militia has that same special rule, reroll rally and fatigue on the first turn, but they have a little more just standard good options. Yeah, I played this North American militia quite a bit, and I was kind of behind the change in the rule for Fire on the Frontier, which turned out to be quite a powerful rule. So yeah, this isn't my favorite either.
I don't mind the Caribbean militia. It was going to be on the list, but being able to take freebooters as a core unit and then English militia to kind of fill in the list, that makes it, I think, corrects a lot of the problems with the New England militia. In that freebooters are a good unit. Veteran freebooters on support is a good unit. There's just not as exciting killy units in the New England militia.
North American.
Oh, yeah, the North American militia. New England militia is a good faction.
It has something going for it. How about you, Dan? Your last one?
My last one's gonna be controversial. Tyler Stone's probably gonna send me notes in my DMs telling me we're not bros anymore. But is it Chasseurs? Is that how it's pronounced? Chasseurs?
Chasseurs is if you're English.
Chasseurs. So
I don't know.
I like them. I like the way they look on paper. I like how it's, the super small elite musket shooty unit, the guys you're going to sneak up in your elusive terrain and then rain terror down. My problem is core units, Buccaneers, fantastic. Engagés, we talked about them. They're crap. They get shot at, they see their friends get shot at, they're going to run away. And the support units are great. I love the support units. The problem is you're only going to see maybe one or two of them. And if you want to take these guys at sea, you're a small elite force in boats. And while you're most likely going to be the defender, and on a spade or a heart, you get tough, which is cool. I just think that you're always going to be outnumbered. And how do you compensate for someone who's really good at shooting? Bring big blobs of guys and charge and just soak it up. Like, I just in a small point game, or I can see it kind of. In a large point game, I think you're just gonna be outnumbered and you're gonna get overrun. And it sucks because I really like them. I like that these are the guys we pretty much owe the game to, is these French fur traders and their muskets initially started in stealing stuff from the Spanish. But I don't see it. I really don't see him as a top tier faction. I'm sure some people disagree, and they're gonna say, "Oh, but they're super good at shooting." But I just think you're always gonna be outnumbered, and as we get further on, there's just gonna be better and better units and factions that are gonna be able to get close and bonk you, because none of these guys are good in combat.
Not in close combat now. They're very good at shooting.
I've been destroyed by these guys once, so I have respect for them.
Yeah.
They have a good pile of special rules. Yeah, it's Elite Force. But I think engagés can be managed on land, so I don't mind this faction. I like it.
I think it's one of the stronger factions in the game, especially Charles Torre is he's a beast. He's 30 points, inspiring, 16-inch range, 3 command points. He comes with a Buccaneer gun. He also has Guerrilla Commander, so all of your Buccaneer get and Ungage get skirmishers. He also has local knowledge, so all your Ungage and Buccaneers get scouts.
That's helpful. Helpful to have scouts and skirmishers.
You can put in one turn, if you activate on like a spade, you can give Buccaneers tough scouts and skirmishers, and they already have quick reload as well.
But that's 30 points you're dropping on a force. It's already expensive.
Yeah, it is. This is a elite sniper one. I respect your opinion because it's boring. You are playing this faction because you want tough Buccaneers.
Yeah, like I don't see it. That's the thing is I don't see it. I could see in like an army scale game.
Well, having one of the best units as a core unit.
Yeah.
Like in an army scale game, if you want to set these up as like your sharpshooters or harassing people, I see that through and through. That makes sense to me. But by itself, I think it's boring. And I think that against a player who knows what they're doing, they're gonna run and soak up as fast as they can and get you in combat and make you stay there, and it's gonna hurt. What about you, Joseph? Is it time?
My last one is another really good faction. No, this is actually had the privilege of designing this, and now I'm going to dunk on it. The New England Village Garrison. So this is specifically designed to be bad because these are civilians, non-combatants, and they're garrison troops just waiting to get ambushed by Indians and French. So they're made to be bad. But I have won games with them. I beat myself on solo games with them. So they aren't that bad, but they are not good at fighting necessarily. I've talked about it before, so I won't go on here. But
we talked before about this. I left them off my list because they are made to be bad, and I think that's cheating a little bit.
I kind of want to go to the tournament with these and just go to a tournament and see how I do.
We talked about the civilian list running 100 civilians.
You can't do 100, you can 98. Yeah, you can do shenanigans with these guys. And yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much. But it's a new faction in Fire in the Frontier, and it's kind of silly, but it's a really central part of a lot of the warfare up in New England in the latter part of the 17th and early part of the 18th century. So historically, it's a respectable faction.
Our last one is Caribs, or Kalinago. This is a faction I've played too many times myself, and that's why I put it here, is every time I play them, I am surprised at how terrible Sound of Thunder is on your models. It hurts so much. But Caribs have a couple different things going for them that make it a bad faction. For one, like I mentioned, is Sound of Thunder. And Cunning. Cunning is not a very good special rule. It means that you can fall back 5 inches instead of 4, and you get a free rally when falling back. So it does something, but combining that with Sound of Thunder means that you're going to be getting a lot of fatigue on your men. And
just to catch people up if you don't know, Sound of Thunder, whenever you get shot by a gunpowder weapon, you have to roll that extra fatigue dice, which is a lot. It sounds subtle, but it's not. It's a punch in the
It
face
really
every
is.
single time.
Yeah, every time, even if you make all your saves,
You're
you're rolling
2 dice.
2 dice. Even though no one died, you're rolling 2 dice, and all but one of the your
2.
warrior archers, all but 2. Yeah, young warriors, you can't really play just them. You have to play warrior archers. But warrior archers, which are what you're going to use in this faction because it gives you poison arrows, so you want to use warrior archers. They have a 6 resolve, so you're going to be 50% of the fatigue dice you roll are going to give you fatigue. The other part that is a special grudge that I have against this faction is this has Captain Tabari and Captain Peter in it, which Captain Tabari is a 25-point commander with Night Raider, where if you do not win the coin flip to go first, he's pretty much just you paid 10 extra points for no reason. Night Raider is if you are the attacker, the game takes place at night, which sounds really fun because you can also use hidden 8 inches away instead of 12 at night. It sounds really good. But again, if you lose that coin flip to go first, then you might as well just brought the experienced Southern Tribes commander because he does the same thing. And it interacts with a couple rules in the game that not a lot of people know of. You can't use fortune on the coin flip to go first. So if you sit down with somebody and you have a Captain Tabari list because you want to do some night raiding and you lose that coin flip, like I think I've gotten, not spicy myself, but I said, well, okay, I want to then, if it's a casual game, I want to surrender that game and play another one so I can use my commander.
Yeah.
I want to keep flipping this coin till I win, and I'll give up every game coin flip I lose because I want to do a Night Raider game. That's not something that's fair. The other commander, which is Captain Peter, which it's nice that they're getting some named characters. Captain Peter has delay tactics, which delay tactics allows him to use a command point on a enemy commander that's within 12 inches to start to basically rob him of command points. You start talking to him, and on a 7+, he can't use any command points. The problem with that is if you're 12 inches away, you probably want to also shoot instead with that command point. There's very few cases where delay tactics is going to give you something, a material benefit, especially because it's only working 40% of the time.
Yeah, there's a couple factions, the Indians, that have some of these combos. I put the Caribbean tribes as one of my less powerful ones initially, too bad it nicks it. But just that Sound of Thunder is too much. I mean, they have poison arrows. That's a huge advantageous rule. And have Ruthless. I like that. I played this faction and I like it. But if you get hit with guns all the time, it's just you're rallying all the time and just running. And at least you can run 5 backwards, right? Since you run so much.
Yeah.
And then if you look over the page, you see South American tribes with poison and elusive and no bad rules. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah, if you want to use poison arrows, which you should, if you're going to be doing bows, because it makes them way more effective. Don't play one that has Sound of Thunder because, especially Ruthless, I've played games where I always just had more fatigue than my opponent because even with poison arrows, I remember clearing 5 fatigue off my commander. And then the very next activation, it was a commander they got shot twice and they had 5 fatigue again.
Well, here's a good use for them. If you play natives a lot and you're really good at them and you can kill people easily, when you're playing some new players or less skilled players, give yourself a handicap and play the Sound of Thunder natives. Lots of flavor, and they'll give those noobs a chance.
Fun. Caribbean tribes is fun to try too because of that King Old Man.
He's a good commander. He's undercost.
Such a good commander.
All right, we've been criticizing probably long enough. I want to reiterate, we aren't trying to be mean or say these are unplayable or poorly designed, but they're just factions that we have had issues with or just personally don't like. uh,
All of them are factions I'm going to continue playing.
if there's a faction you don't like, or if you want to take us to task for some of our criticisms that we have tried to cover ourselves with disclaimers, drop a comment and let us know why we're wrong or why we missed one of the worst factions in Blood and Plunder. For more Blood and Plunder articles about factions, mostly good factions, and all sorts of other Blood and Plunder topics, go over to bloodandpigment.com and check out what we have written up there on the blog.
Check out the rest of our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe and ring the ship's bell so you can stay notified of our uploads.
And as always, keep your dice ready, the win at your back, your har.